there's an old saying where I come from. It says, never follow a really good cookie recipe. I have to breach that. I am an intellectual property lawyer. I promise not to be too boring, or I'll try at least. And someone else spoke about intention. My intention is not to be terribly boring. I'm going to talk about intellectual property, why it's important to a business, and why it's important to our region. Intellectual property is the fuel that can power our region's economic growth. Our region's ability to harness, develop, protect, and commercialize its collective and collaborative innovation and imagination can fuel the growth that our region needs. Our region originally began as and rose to prominence because of its access to waterways as a transportation hub, and then later because of its access to railways. And that original benefit gave us the ability to rise to prominence again when our nation switched from a farming economy to an industrial economy. And our region was in a position to capitalize on that because of its access to its waterways, and was able to become also an industrial center. Our nation now is shifting again from an industrial economy to one that is increasingly reliant upon knowledge and information. Corporate valuation has shifted from one that's reliant on physical property and real property to one that's reliant on intellectual property. And our region can benefit from the major underlying attributes that our region has, which is its wealth of resources from educational institutions throughout the capital region. So what will bring us there? Intellectual property is one measure of a region's entrepreneurship and economic growth. Intellectual property, although in many instances more valuable than physical property, is much more difficult to protect against theft and misuse. One of the methods of protecting intellectual property is the US patent system. The US patent system provides an inventor with rights to their invention for 20 years in exchange for disclosure of that invention, so that at the end of the 20 years, it goes into the public domain for the good of everyone. But oftentimes, the cost of a patent and the time that it takes to develop a patent is so great that a product must go to market under some other form of intellectual property: copyright, trademark, trade secret. And in fact, oftentimes cookie recipes are protected either by copyright or trade secret, not likely a patent. But patents are important, and I'm going to talk about patents because they are one of the most quantifiable measures of innovation and entrepreneurship that you can have and divide up region by region, technology by technology, see what we're doing, see what is developing. It's kind of like a leading indicator of where an economy will be going. And behind me is a chart that shows the patents in New York State over the last 30 years. I'm going to talk a little bit about those. We track patents throughout the country, both by region and by technology. And we'll talk a little bit about how that shows the economic development of a region. When you look at, over the last 30 years, the regions that have had sustained economic growth, you'll see that it's directly correlated to the patents that were issued to companies and individuals in that region. If you look in the 1990s, two regions that had tremendous growth, Silicon Valley, Austin, Texas, both reliant heavily on technology. And if you look at the patents that were issued to those regions during the decade of the 90s, you'll see a fourfold increase on a yearly basis in those regions. So 4 times from 1990 to the end of the decade, the number of patents issued to companies and individuals in that region increased fourfold, whereas those in New York State remained relatively constant, a slight increase, and those in Tech Valley comparable to New York State. Tech Valley and New York State moves along at a similar path. You'll see also on the chart above me that there's one area where Tech Valley and New York State has outperformed other areas, and that's in the area of clean energy. And I'll show you how that is a leading indicator of real economic growth and real dollars for our region. One company locally that used a patent to advance itself economically is the company called Albany Molecular Research. They took a patent for a chemical compound and converted it into licensing for the drug Allegra, and used that money and parlayed that into becoming a multi-million-dollar publicly traded company, which at one time had more than 800 employees. Our region has the ability to have many more companies like this. Through our educational institutions, we have the funding for research and development that can provide us with patents that not only are great ideas, but can be great economic stimulants for our region. A study done at SUNY Albany indicated that for every dollar spent on research and development at SUNY Albany, that our region was able to receive a 10-fold economic benefit. And we are wonderfully blessed with institutions such as RPI, SUNY Albany, Union College, Siena, where we have a workforce of individuals coming out that can not only be entrepreneurs, but can also provide the highly skilled labor that the companies need in order to grow and innovate. One area in which our region has really taken the lead on is the area of clean and green energy. I have up here on the chart, you'll see that in New York State and in Tech Valley, although patents have increased over the last 30 years modestly, you'll see that we've also had a modest decline over patents generally as a percentage of patents issued in the United States. So although New York State is increasing, it's not increasing at the same pace that the rest of the country is. Where that's different is in the area of clean and green energy. We are outperforming the other areas by almost double. And we've been tracking clean and green energy patents since 2002. And you can see that we've had a substantial increase in that area over time. And how has that led to any sort of economic benefit? Well, the Albany metro area, you'd be perhaps pleased to know, of all metropolitan areas in the country, has the highest percentage of employees in the clean and green energy areas. Not the most employees, of course, because we're a mid-sized city, but of the number of employees that we have the highest percentage in clean and green energy. 28,000 plus, 6.3% of our workforce. That's the highest in the country. An additional 10,000 in compliance and regulatory that are working in our economy. Albany has the 5th fastest growing clean and green economy in the nation of any metropolitan area, the 5th fastest growing, 9% growth since 2003 in this field. And you'll see 2002, 2003, 2004, the number of patents issued were rapidly increasing. This is, you'll see a slight dip in recent years. It's not because because we have less patents being issued in our region. It's because the rest of the country is starting to catch up. So as a percentage of the rest of the country, we're still doing very well, but the rest of the country is starting to catch up. But Albany has been, and Tech Valley has been out in front. Now, how is this translated into real dollars? There are studies that look at exports in the various metropolitan regions throughout the state. And the Brookings Institute study indicated that there's 5 regions in which there's $1 billion of exports in goods and services leaving a metropolitan area. $1 billion. There's five metropolitan areas that have more than $1 billion in exports. Chicago was number 1. San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, and Albany. Albany was amongst the top 5 exporters of goods and services in real dollars in the country, and in very good company with those other metropolitan areas. Now, where is that coming from locally? A large part of it comes from General Electric, wind power, which is both leading in the number of patents as well as the number of revenues and goods and services that are exported. But there's dozens of companies in our region that are contributing both to the patents and as well as to the bottom line revenues. Not only in wind, but in solar power, fuel cells. Our region has taken the lead in innovation with these patents, and is also now rising to prominence with its exporting of the results of these patents, commercializing them and obtaining revenues and providing a real opportunity for our region. And it's hoped that investments that are made in institutions like Semitech and Global Foundries and Albany Nanotech will also have this kind of spillover effect for our region. But it's not just the government incentives that provide the region with the opportunity for economic growth. In his book entitled The Rise of the Creative Class, author Richard Florida indicated that it's the entrepreneurship in a region that will, and the level of creativity and attracting individuals that are creative to a region that will provide the real opportunity for innovation and growth. The former CEO of Hewlett-Packard said, you can keep your government tax incentives. You can keep your financial incentives. We want to go where the creativity is. We want to go where the intellectual individuals are. That's where we want to be. And it's been proven again and again that companies grow around technology, and technology grows from individuals. So our region, with its continued efforts on supporting our educational institutions where innovation and creativity comes out of, is, I think, really on its way to taking part in this shift of our economy from one that was formerly industrial to one that is now a knowledge and information-driven economy. And it is incumbent upon us, in order to continue this, to look for ways to attract creative individuals and innovators to our region, and then, once they're here, do what we can to harness, commercialize, and protect this intellectual property for the benefit of the entirety of our region. Thank you.